Hi, Flosstube, and welcome to Fairy Tales and French Knots. I'm Erin, and this is my channel about cross-stitch, where I talk long enough to make my family wonder what I'm up to, but short enough that you should be able to watch this on your lunch break. Today is May 3rd of 2025, and this is episode 35. My number and pattern-loving brain is kind of geeked out about the fact that it is 5/3, and this is episode 35. So, Anyway, returning friends, welcome back. And new friends, I feel like I've got quite a number of you. Thank you for coming by and checking me out. I hope you're enjoying what I have to show. Yeah, I don't know if you've gone back to episode 1 and found out any details about my life and stitching and all the things I've been up to. But if you haven't, or if you are just stumbling past episode 35 for some random reason, I tend to stitch a lot of smalls, actually. And my tastes in terms of subject matter are all over the place. Except I don't typically do religious pieces, and I don't do the 1980s cutesy precious moments kind of style. I've kind of moved away from that. But everything from fancy ladies to samplers to weird little things I find on Etsy and free places on the internet, I've stitched it. I liked it. It'll never be an heirloom, but it was fun while it lasted. So there you go. So today, what will we talk about? I have some WIPGO progress to show off and WIPGO plans. I have one finish. I have some new starts. And I have one little bit of haul that I forgot to show off last week. So I'm going to start with that because it's actually connected to some of my adventures around, Joanne's closing and some of the stuff I got there. So anyway, one of the things I did get, pardon my forehead, one of the things I did get from the Nashville market was one of the animal crackers, and I did not show that when I showed my Nashville stash. A lot of people got this one. It's not a big surprise. Nothing really special, except, I think it's adorable. It's Lily from the Animal Crackers by Stacy Nash. But the reason I had forgotten to show it was because in my adventures at my Joann's, which is closing, as are all of them, I picked up some fabric. And I picked up the fabric knowing that I wanted that animal cracker and I wanted to make a project bag for it. And this is the one I made. It is a vinyl front one. I don't love vinyl front bags, but I had this piece of vinyl in my stash. And one of the things I started doing in the past month or two is going through my craft room and just forcing myself to admit that there are things here I'll never do. What you can see here is not very much of it. It's one little corner. These shelves over here go all the way up. There's a cabinet underneath them. There's more shelves on the other side of the room. There's a closet over there. There's a desk full of drawers that are full of things. There's a file cabinet full of patterns. I got the stash, friends. Mad stash. And I'm constantly picking up things because they might be useful someday. And it's funny because I know one of the things I showed off from my Joann's stock up trips in my past episode was the knobs that Julie and Catherine over at Floss Paper Scissor have used. And in their latest episode, Julie says something about, having rickrack in every color. Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the appeal of big sales and going out of business sales at Joann's, is that there are things there that might be useful someday. And you look at them and you think, well, they're on sale, or it's a yard sale, or it's an estate sale where you can get stuff for pennies. And you think, well, maybe I'll need it. Maybe I will. So I should get it, right? And all I keep thinking, it's like the irony of it. It's going to be my estate sale someday. Somebody's going to go, oh my God, 1/4-inch ribbon in every shade of the rainbow. Look, 8 boxes of DMC floss sorted by number all ready for me. Woohoo! It is what it is, I guess. But anyway, because in the process of attempting to weed out some of the stuff that I think I'll probably never use. Wow, that was vague. I came across this piece of vinyl, and it was enough for like one project bag, and this is what I made with it. It's frogs. They're so cute. And the back is this piece of green, and I quilted it together, and then I put Lily in it. Didn't kit it, didn't stitch it, didn't do a darn thing with it, except make a bag for it. So there you go. One of the other fabrics I picked up at Joann's is this one. And it's little pagodas. It's very cute. I had to buy 2 yards of it because that's what the closing sales tell you have to do. And that leads me to one of my WIPGO calls for May, which Jessie Marie did the WIPGO calls, and I believe it's 19 and 5 for this month, for the month of May. And for me, that brings up, I did mine by category because I have multiple patterns that fit into different categories. That way I'm not locked into a certain piece if I'm not feeling it. But my calls for May are picture and fantasy. And I used picture as kind of a catch-all for the things that weren't fantasy, weren't aquatic, weren't samplers, weren't holiday. I didn't have a whole lot of them, but there were a handful that kind of fit that sort of vague place. And the one that I think I'm going to work on is Asian Shadow Quilts by Ursula Michael. And this is what it looks like. I think I've talked about it in past videos. It's been in my stash. It's been started for a very long time. I actually restarted it either last year or the year before on 40 count. And I restarted it on white because I had initially started it on, I think it was a mushroom color. And it looked very nice on the mushroom, except for mostly this big quilt right here, this yellow and black one. That white isn't stitched. And I looked at it and thought, I could stitch the white. If I did it on an off-white fabric, I could stitch the white. But if I go and do it on a white fabric, I don't have to stitch that. And that won out. So as of today, here's where I'm at with that piece. I've got that little, let's see, this quilt right here. This is done. I've got over to the kimono, and I've got part of that yellow one actually done. So that's where I am with that. And hopefully I'll make some progress on it. And I did think about making it a project bag with this fabric because I have 2 yards of it now. The other purpose that I have for this fabric is for my scrapbook with these 20 stitches Stitch for Pride. So I can show the progress I have on that. I started the March square, which is a Chinese person who was born female, but if they did not identify as male, they chose to embrace many male characteristics. And this is where, as I mentioned in a past video, I get a little tangled up in transgender identity, current versus past versus being a voice for a person who can't tell us exactly what they saw themselves as. So anyway, this is my progress on that piece. It's not very far yet, but it is a dragon around a sword with a sun and some like wave elements in it. Again, I don't have the floss pack, so this is kind of inspired by the pinks that Algie Ross used. It is a Vicky Clayton silk from her detritus packs. So I used the reds, the kind of red and pink colors, and I thought, being a person of Chinese heritage, using silk was kind of a nod to that too. So that's my progress on that. I'm a month or two behind because that is the March pattern, and obviously I think Dee has released the May one, which is a French person. So anyway, this fabric connected to two of my projects. We're making progress here. So yes, that is part of my May call. The other call for me besides picture was fantasy. And for that, I'm bringing out one of the ladies, actually little girl, maybe. You may recognize her if you're a Mira fan. This is Bluebell. I do have Bluebell. And part of my incentive for getting her out and getting her finished is that if I finish her, I could sell the pattern. And perhaps I would pass it along for less, but I don't know. I haven't decided. When I watch what it goes for on eBay, I'm highly, highly tempted to list it. I would not list it at the prices I've seen it sell at. I'd probably list it out of that stratosphere, but I'm not going to stop anybody from bidding either, because that's how the market works, folks. All right, so that's my WIPGO calls for May. Let's talk about what I did in April. So for April, my calls were holiday and aquatic. For aquatic, I worked on the Owl Forest embroidery piece, and I did get in my 5 lengths that I like to do. And here it is. So there's, let's see, I added this little structure over here, the fish here. I finished up the stars. I got some more done over on this little, I think it's like a fountain. Did some of these leaves and fish up here. The one change I did make is that this fish and this structure over here, I did with purple and not what the pattern called for, because I was running out of what the pattern called for, and I thought some purple never hurts. I like purple. So that was my progress on that. And I can see that getting finished this year. The only things left, I have to finish what it's named for, the octopus over here. And there's some Quaker water things over in here. So that's coming along. And for my holiday piece, which is how I made a connection with Pam and Steph, I was working on Halloween Parcheesi. So here is where I am with Halloween Parcheesi, which is a primitive needle piece. And if you haven't heard, and I think most of the stitching world has at this point, but the primitive needle patterns should be available again, hopefully soon. Lisa Roswell's daughter has decided to sell her mother's patterns. I think she's planning to sell them electronically, so PDF files. I also think that means a website of some kind, and last I knew, that website was not ready for prime time, but it should be coming. So if you love primitive needle patterns and you've been looking for them, or you're just finding out about them and you want to know how to get them, don't buy them for ridiculously high prices on eBay quite yet. I see that I have a alert set up on my eBay account. I see that they're still being listed. Don't bid yet. For those of us who have a huge stash of them and thought, ooh, someday I can sell them, it is a sad day. But it's a happy day because more people will be stitching these patterns, and they really are charming patterns. So I personally love this one because my dad and I used to play Parcheesi. My mom and I always joke about witchy Halloween things, and this seemed like a perfect combination of the two. So again, here's my progress. You can see I'm almost done. Well, almost done. The witch is finished. The bat is finished over here, except for the one star. This square is finished. This one up here is finished as well. The center, obviously done. So I just need to finish the owl and the cat and these two squares, and then the border, which is four stitches all the way around. And if you're wondering what the crinkle is, I'm sorry, but there is tissue paper between my pattern, or my fabric, and my nurge, because I noticed, especially this corner actually had started to discolor from my hands on the fabric. So, yeah. So that's where Halloween Parcheesi is. So that's my progress there. I did have one finish this month, which was April Showers. It's a freebie from Silver Creek Samplers, and I'll link it below. And it is right here. So cute. And this is where also, I mentioned my finding of knobs. I used a knob. And this was from a pack of those, is it Tim Holtz? He does all the scrapbook stuff. There were 3 of them in the package, and they had these tiny, tiny little screws on the base that weren't enough. They weren't long enough for my picture frame. So I had to countersink a hole in the inside of the frame. I did a good job. I like the way it looks like it's the top of the umbrella. I lined it all up so it fit. This fabric is 28 count cornflower, and I swapped out the blue because the blue that was called for was too light and didn't show. The frame was a thrift store find that I actually cut down, and I thought I cut it down a little too much, but maybe not. It actually worked pretty well because it was tight on the sides already, so making it a little short at the top and bottom worked. And then this is just a little tiny bead that I crammed into the corner of the frame. So there it is. Little bird, little boot. Very cute. So that was my finish. And I had 2 other starts this month because my eyes are bigger than my stitching time. I started Blue Flowers Iris with the Night Garden stitch palette. This was a free pattern. So if you bought the stitch palette, the thread palette, and you didn't buy all of the patterns, or you didn't like any of the patterns, but then why did you buy the floss palette? Anyway, this is a free pattern. And there's my progress. I have plans for this one. And this is where my insane thrifting, crafting, antique store hobbies all combine. I got this at the antique store for like $8 because the clock didn't work. And this is what it is. It's like an old world grandfather clock thing, but the clock didn't work. I've obviously already taken it off because I'm a very impatient crafter. But I want to put the irises into the clock face and then put it back on. And because the irises almost look like these little flowers. And it was only a couple bucks, really. The funny thing is, it's got, so inside the back here, open the little door. There's this little note here that says handcrafted by somebody. Made with pride in the USA, handcrafted by RMS, $4.95 on the door. So the thing is, what it reminds me of are the like the Ukrainian made wood stitch kits where you stitch on the wood and put it together. They're super cute. And I wonder if this was something like that. Like, it looks like a kit. I could be wrong. It could be some man, woman, somewhere with the initials RMS who cut out all the pieces and put it all together. I don't know. But still, I could put something cute. I could even put another tiny little stitched thing on the bottom shelf. Who knows? So that is why I started the iris. The other thing I started is a new pattern from Cozy Egg Designs, and I will link it below. She is doing tombstones, and last year or the year before, I stitched Lie Light, which is the words from Mark Twain's daughter's tombstone. And I stitched that because I actually used to work at the Mark Twain study, and I know where this tombstone actually is. It is in Elmira, New York, which is where I went to college, and I have actually visited the gravesite. So when the pattern was available, I stitched it. I think I stitched that thing so fast that everything else got set aside, and I just stitched that. Well, Michelle has now released a second tombstone in that series, and it's called A Poet's Heart. It looks like this. It actually looks much better than this because this is my black and white printout of the PDF. So, but it is inspired by Percy Bysshe Shelley's tombstone, along with some personal events in Michelle's life that I will not share because they're not mine to share. But she does include them in the explanation of the pattern, the notes on the verse. So Percy Bysshe Shelley drowned in 1822, and legend has it that his heart did not burn in his funeral pyre. And the words on his gravestone in Italy include the words Cor Cordium, which translates to Heart of Hearts. So she's got the angel 1822 in Cor Cordium, and then the verse is actually from one of his other poems, which expresses the idea that change is inevitable and the beauty of life is fleeting and bittersweet. And it's just lovely. So I started this on a piece of 40 count ancient mead by Dixie Sampler, and it was a piece of fabric I just had in my stash waiting for the right thing. And this is the right thing. So there's my progress. It's in a project bag with a vinyl front, as I say how I don't like vinyl front project bags. And I'm using this lovely Silks for You black silk that I got at StitchCon from Those Missing Stitches, who is also a fabric dyer, and dyed the fabric that I stitched Lie Light on. So again, with, you know, the 3-5-5-3 synchronicity of numbers and obviously patterns that I own. So this is the silk I'm using. Here's what it looks like right now. Hopefully there's not too much glare off the vinyl. I should take it out, right? Yeah, I'll take it out. There it is. So. PR070 Silks for You on Ancient Mead by Dixie Sampler. So, yes. Loving that pattern. I just had to put it away to get back to my WIPGO projects for a little while. But I'll probably go back to it after I make some dents in my May WIPGO projects. And then I had one other find that I did not start stitching, but I'm going to show it here anyway because it's related to my my thrifting tendencies. So I was at the thrift store, and for 49 cents, I found this little bowl. It's really cute, and it looks like an egg. As soon as I looked at it, I went, that is a robin's egg, speckled egg. I love it. And because I have a weird ability to remember patterns in my stash, even though my stash is stupidly huge, I can think to myself, oh, I know where that goes. That would look perfect with this thing that I've had in my stash for 20 years. So the thing that I knew was in my stash was a Tisket, a Tasket by, well, it's actually by With Thy Needle and Thread before it was With Thy Needle and Thread. Right? So yes, it's visit us online at countrystitchesonline.com, patterns by Brenda Gervais. But seriously, to make this is a pin keep on a candlestick base. Pardon my allergies. Yes, pin keep, candlestick base. But if I made it into a little topper on top of this little bowl, wouldn't it be the cutest thing ever? Yes, maybe. It'll be a project that I'll finish and either love or hate. So I have it kitted up with some of the called for flosses and some of the stuff from my stash on a piece of 40 count, also from my stash. And I think, given that it is about, it's 49 by 44, and they finished it as a round. If I finish it as this round and make a little topper that fits inside the bowl, it will be the cutest thing. So that's one of the things in my plans. Maybe I'll do it at StitchCon. Maybe I'll have it done for StitchCon. Maybe you'll see me again before StitchCon, and maybe you won't, because I'm not the best at making these videos. But please come back. No. Anyway, today is May 3rd, as I've said several times. I usually record once a month, sometimes twice, so I might make it back here before StitchCon. I'm going to Weekend A this year, so if you're going to StitchCon A, come find me. I will be there. I don't know. I don't travel with plans. I don't come going, oh, I have a whole bunch of people. I just wander into the room and look for one of the tables that says seats available and plop my stuff down. It's always worked out for me. And if you've never been before and you're worried about not knowing people, don't worry. We will all mingle and get to know people. You'll meet people at your table. It will be fine. If you don't want to talk to people, just sit down and someone will go, hello, can I sit here? And maybe that will be me. Maybe it will be someone else. It's all good. At least last year, if you've never been before. Last year they put these lovely flags on the tables that said seats available. And until you were a full table, you left your flag there. When your table was full, you took your flag down. It was great because, you know, then you didn't have to walk up and be like, "Can I sit with you?" You could just be like, "Hi, I'm going to put my stuff here. Are we cool?" And, you know, there was no seat saving or any of that. Like, you know, you can't sit with the cool kids because we're all grown-ups, but inside we're not. It's okay. It was great. And like, I love that because I'm totally like, "Hey, cool, there's a chair. Can I sit there?" And it works. So anyway, like I said, I'm not sure if I will record again before StitchCon. I will try to. Hopefully I'm going to make some progress and finish some fun things and have more to show. I've got these smalls going on, so maybe I'll get that clock thing finished. Maybe I won't. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a great week, great rest of the month. It's only the beginning of the month, Erin. Stop that. Yeah, go do some stitching and enjoy your lives, and I'll see you later, friends. Bye.